Hey, this is Tom from Nightingale Games, and today I'm going to go over the differences between the first and second edition of War Room. I've got the Kickstarter launching today, or tomorrow really. It's the night before. And you can upgrade, if you back the first edition, you can upgrade forwards, and if you get the second edition, you can upgrade backwards. So that sounds a little complicated, but there's really, compared to everything you get, there's not that much difference. I'm going to go over all the differences right now. And the first edition costs $240 MSRP. The second edition costs $200 MSRP. And so there's just a little bit of streamlining that took place to reduce the weight and lower the cost so the game becomes more accessible to more people. And you'll be able to get all of the supplements via the web store, like I said, and if the Kickstarter, depending on the level of success of the Kickstarter, will provide more and more options and ways to package those, such as you can get the full kit and just upgrade everything, or do it piecemeal. Oh, one caveat is that all the things I show you may change a little bit. We have the production plan pretty much set, but there might be a few tweaks here and there. So first thing I want to talk about is the box here. The box is the same length and width as the original. You can see two of them stacked here very large. The one on top is the second edition, and it's 1 centimeter shorter, 10 millimeters. So it's just a little bit shallower, shall we say. The box design on the cover will probably change. We're thinking of some gold stripes on the top so you can easily identify which version is which. And we might have a UPC and a sell sheet on the bottom if we have enough retail interest. Okay, moving on to the contents of the box. Probably one of the biggest changes is related to the morale board. And so here I have the original morale board. It's two-sided. I'm going to assume that you're somewhat familiar with the rules as I go over this, so I'm just going to blast through everything. Yeah, this is the original. When units died, you would stack them here and count up the casualty points and convert them to stress. And to do a little bit of streamlining, we're getting rid of the stress tokens, which piled up here in stacks, which formed towers and were a little bit tippy. And so now we have a track running along the top, and so it goes from 1 to 10, and you'll take a little national token, your flag, to use as a counter, and we might even provide a little extra one, or you can use the ones that already come with the game. And you can see here there's a little flag, and that indicates the threshold for that particular nation. So Japan's threshold in this scenario is 7. And you put an extra one if you were unlucky enough to get more than 10 stress for that round. One other thing I want to point out is on the original one, it only went up to 5 stress, which was 90 plus casualty points. But we realized occasionally, sometimes you deserve 6 stress. So this one goes up to 110 plus here. So another little note on this, it's also double-sided, there's 2 scenarios for the front, 2 scenarios for the back. I've added this silver bar because sometimes you accidentally play on the wrong side and then realize partly through the game you're playing on the wrong side of the board. So we'll make it stand out a little bit more with this silver bar, and we'll probably also change the silver trim around the outside so that stands out a bit more. Another little note on the related to the morale board are the medals. In the second edition, we'll be shrinking the size of the medals. These are the civilian goods / medals. And this is 1 inch, this is 0.75 inch. This is a little bit too small, so we're going to go somewhere in between. But they will be shrunk a little bit, and that's to save cost, but also to allow you to stack your civilian goods and your metals beside each other in the same metal zone where you keep your metals. And moving on, let's talk about the storage box. So these are the original storage boxes for units. There were one for the air units, naval units, and two for the land units, infantry and artillery and armor. And you would open them up, and they have compartments to store all the different units. And now for the second edition, where we have a single storage box, which pretty much takes up the same space as you can see here. Takes up the same amount of space. But this one, its aesthetic matches the rest of the game a little bit more. It's got that somber black look to it. It's got like a chocolate box style lift lid. So you'll lift up the lid here, and inside are all the units. Along the bottom there's the land units, the naval units, the air units along the top. We've got the carrier fighters and the arrow tags down here, and some multipliers of all three types in this bottom corner here. So there's 12 compartments, and at the bottom of each is a little symbol to remind you of what goes in which compartment. And in the top you could use to roll your dice. We might even, as a wish list, we might imprint something on here for sorting the dice as you roll them. So that's a new feature that the first edition backers might want, and they'll be able to get that via the store, along with everything. Next up, let's talk about the OMP charts here. So in the original, they had 50 pages, front and back. This is where you write your secret orders. Each nation has their own little booklet. So we reduced the number of pages to 30 to help with the weight and the cost. And a lot of people use the dry erase boards that were available in the jumbo pack or separately available in the web store. But some people prefer these so you can keep a record of your orders, or they just don't like the smudginess of dry erase pens. So there'll be fewer pages, but you can always buy more of these at the store if you run out, or make copies as you like. And just a point on the Chinese flag, the Chinese symbology that we're using in this game. In the original version, China censored the production of the Taiwanese flag because of political tensions. I don't really want to get into the whole story there, but we provided a free sticker sheet made in America to anyone who wanted it. And you can see there's a lot of usage. There's the card holder, the OMP chart, the battle boards, the morale boards, all the cards and the commands and the national flag. So there's a lot of usage there. This original design is probably the one we're going to go with. We tried to have just the 12-point sun, but they censored that such that it's an 8-point star. So we feel that's a bit of a half measure. So we'll probably end up just going back to this yellow field with a red star, which is based on old Chinese World War II medals. If you go and Google Chinese World War II medals, they'll have a similar aesthetic there. So enough about that. Next up, we've got the Nano pack. So we'll be including the Nano expansion pack that we released at the beginning of this year. And so that is already available separately, but now you'll get it included in the game. And then let's move on to the next thing. The stars will not be included in the second edition. I'm not sure anybody cares about this. Let me know if you desperately want the stars. They were used for marking capitals in the smaller scenarios, such as Hawaii. But you could just put a starburst or M&Ms, something like that. But they won't be included. let me know if somebody really wants those. Next up is Italy. So there was an errata for the first edition. It's not that big a deal. I'll explain why now. The Sicily was misprinted to have 2 infantry instead of 1. And it was correct on the command. Each of the commands also has a reference for the initial setup of the game. And so he said just refer to the command pips for setup and ignore the back of this Sicily card. But now it's been corrected, so if you're really interested, we'll be able to make these available too, hopefully. And another issue with Italy is that we changed the color of the plastic. The original commands were this sort of army green color, and we've updated them to match the color that we're using for their national storage box and on the morale board. So you can see the difference here. This is the second edition, this is the first edition. It's much brighter. It matches the green of Italy. Everywhere else we use it. The darker sort of army green was confused with the US color, which is more of a blue-green. So that's why we made the change. But it's just an aesthetic. It doesn't really matter that much. But moving on, we've got the hotspots in the second edition, and you'll get these as the hotspot tokens. Embattled side on the back, hotspot burst on the front. And there'll be quad thick chipboard instead of wood, which came with the original. These were really expensive, so that was one of the cost-saving measures to bring the price down for the second edition. But these will be available on the web store. They already are, in fact, if you want to upgrade your second edition to what the first edition had. Yeah. Okay, and there were some other comments. We weren't going to have a second battle board. That's a wish list item right now. We might include a second battle board if we're successful enough in the campaign. The reason why you might want a second battle board is such that you can have 2 battles at once or be setting up the second battle while you're resolving the first. The battle board hasn't changed, the maps haven't changed. There's so many other things that haven't changed. By the way, if you want to see a proper full unboxing of the second edition, there's going to be other videos coming up. We've sent out some copies to Board Game Nation and other YouTube sites. So when they go live, I'll provide a link if you want to watch a proper unboxing that includes everything, as this only covers what's different between 1 and 2, so you don't get to see everything. Next up is the reference. The only reason this is changing is because it shows the new morale board and the old morale board, and there's a word or two that's different, but it's really the same, but technically it's different, so I feel I ought to mention it. And then there's the rulebook. So it'll say second edition on the rulebook. Otherwise, it will look almost exactly the same, except we're adding 4 pages. Now, what are those 4 pages? One of the pages will be the rules for the nano expansion, the Take Her Down nano expansion, as it is online right now. So that'll be one of the pages. Another page, or maybe even 2 pages, will be the quick battle rules, explaining how that works. This is just a placeholder right now. The quick battle rules is a system that helps resolve battles more quickly. It's in beta right now. You can check it out on the War Room Discord channel, and some say it increases the speed of the game almost 30%. It means you don't have to transfer your units to the battle board. You don't pick stances, and you don't take damage. So you're just rolling the dice and transferring the units to the casualty board. And we're going to include some dry race quick battle boards. They'll be double-sided, one for the land, one for the sea, just like the big battle board. And instead of placing the units, you'll write down how many you have, and it's got a summary of the rules. So it'll be the same 7x5 size, most likely, and that's something to look for. The other pages that I talked about, I'm gonna leave as a surprise. So Larry's cooking up something to include. That's it. I blasted through everything, trying to make it quick. This is my second run. If you're interested in seeing how a game plays, I recommend you check out the other channels that I've connected with if you want to see more play sessions. Like I said, everything's going to be available on the website rather than the Kickstarter. We're trying to keep the Kickstarter nice and clean, simple. So if you would be wanting to upgrade forwards or backwards, you'll get those supplements directly from the website, the web store. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll join us or at least check out our Kickstarter, which launches today, tomorrow. It's the end of May. So thank you.